You've turned to a friend. KVBC, Las Vegas. Now, Dave Courvoisier, Sue Tripathi, weather with Rich Britton, and sports with Colin Cowherd. This is News 3 Nightside.
Good evening. Some tense moments for customers and employees at a West Valley Bank late this afternoon. An armed gunman fired off a shot inside the bank before demanding money. And as Lonnie reports, it was until after he had stolen a car and forced a police officer to crash into him that the suspect was taken into custody.
Less than a half hour after the bank robbery, the police had in custody this man who stayed crouched down in the front seat to keep his identity a secret. The suspect led police on a high-speed chase. It finally ended when one officer rammed his police car into the suspects. A bag with bundles of cash spilling out was found about a mile away on the side of the road.
Just before he flew through the intersection, he threw a bag out the window. Well, immediately, and there was 3 cops. One of them made a U-turn, went back to see what it was.
At Valley Bank, a hand-scribbled sign taped to the door clued customers that something had happened.
Customers say they saw the suspect sitting on this bench for quite some time, watching people come and go from the bank before actually deciding to go in himself.
This guy rushes in and says this is a hold-up, everybody on the floor, and with that he reached in, pulled the gun out, shot it into the air, and everybody thought it was a joke.
Wegman says the shot sounded like a loud cap gun, but as the suspect ran from teller to gather up the money, Wegman says she soon realized it was not a joke.
He told the lady to give him her keys, and he shot the middle of the roof, and the bullet's still in the bank.
Sharon Galensky was the woman whose car the suspect commandeered.
And all of a sudden he's on top of me and he says, "Give me the keys to your car." And I'm like, I couldn't get him out of my purse fast enough, and I hit the floor. He says, "Hurry up." You know, and I handed them to him, and then he left, and then everybody took off, and then I just started crying.
The police say a few minutes after taking off, the suspect ditched Galensky's car and got in the pickup that eventually ended up in the wreck. No one was injured. Lonnie Levitt, News 3 Nightside.
The police have not released the suspect's name.
A convicted killer is still destined for the death chamber tonight. He is Edward Bennett, sentenced for the shooting death of Michelle Moore, a convenience store clerk. Bennett was appealing to the state Supreme Court to have his death penalty overturned. The judges unanimously turned down Bennett's appeal on a couple of different arguments. Bennett shot Moore just a little over 2 years ago after buying a pistol the night before at a pawn shop in Utah. Joe Beeson, his accomplice in the shooting, was sentenced to life without parole. This does not exhaust the appeals available to Bennett, though. But another person who's been sentenced to die got a stay of execution today. Priscilla Ford appeared before federal judge Lloyd George, who granted the stay so she could pursue an appeal at the federal level. Now, a series of appeals at the state level have already failed. Ford killed 7 people and injured 22 along a Reno sidewalk in the downtown casino area 10 years ago, mowing them down with her car. A former school teacher claimed her car malfunctioned, but psychiatrists have disagreed over the years as to whether she was insane or not. And doctors also differ on her current competency, which must be established before she can be executed. Ford is the only woman on Nevada's death row.
A Las Vegas federal grand jury says a penny stock operation made investors lose $9.5 million. That grand jury issued an 11-count indictment today. Lynn Mathis reports some of the investors were local, and so were 2 of the brokers.
At one time, finance magnate Meyer Blinder was reported to be Denver's highest-paid executive, making $9.4 million in 1987. But tonight, the Prince of Penny Stocks is under indictment. It's alleged that through his firm, Blinder Robinson, people who invested in securities called blind pools were misled about the value. Indicted with Blinder were Las Vegas brokers Ron Wheeler Sr. and his son and 2 others. Some of the customers who lost money are local, though federal prosecutors cannot say how many at this point. If convicted, Blinder will face up to 60 years in prison, and the Wheelers could get 85 years each. They would have to give the government the $9.5 million that the indictment says customers lost. While the Nevada Secretary of State Securities Division will not comment on the Blinder case, their investigators warn that blind pools are especially risky because you don't know what type of business your money is being invested in.
And really try and get several areas where there might be a guaranteed investment. For instance, you don't want anybody saying, oh, we might invest in real estate, we might invest in oil. You want specifics.
Blinder Robinson operates a local firm, but federal prosecutors say that it is not affected by today's indictment. Lynn Mathis, News 3, Nightside.
Experts say while penny stocks are risky, they can occasionally be good investments. Examples of two successful ventures that started out as penny stocks include Nike tennis shoes and Vegas chips.
Firefighters are at the scene of a blaze on Paradise right now, the 4500 block. Apparently, one room of a complex is on fire. At least one person has been treated for smoke inhalation. There's also been reports that another person was injured when she jumped to escape the flames and the smoke. A lot of calls coming in tonight about the smoke near D and Wilson. The fire department says it's a deep-seated trash fire. They got a front loader out there to stir things up a little bit. A man was arrested tonight as a suspect in a stabbing behind Vegas World Casino. And there was a drive-by shooting near 9th and Fremont tonight. Nobody injured, but one person injured by flying glass. North Las Vegas recovered a stolen car out of California tonight and arrested the driver. And HP also recovered a stolen car, this one out of Arizona, arrested 2 people inside that car. Family fights and juvenile disturbances abound tonight, and there have been at least 40 medical emergency calls. That's Night Beat.
A couple of long-time North Las Vegas cops are celebrities tonight and will be every Friday for the foreseeable future. But don't tell them that. Original Nasty Boys Larry Bradley and Jim Jackson say the Nasty Boys idea was one they conjured up together about 5 years ago. It was to divert kids who were headed down the trail to drug abuse. As Katie Harris reports, the pair didn't think the idea of the Nasty Boys would take off.
Well, I didn't think it would really catch on. I hoped that it would, you know, because I thought the idea and the concept was very good, you know. And I'm very thankful that it has caught on like it has, but I thought if it ever did catch on, it would only be a local thing. And our intent originally was just to get the message to the community and to start a new role model for the kids.
This is a rap about not doing dope. Might think it's funny, but it ain't no joke. Smoke your rock, get you high.
We invited a local news team to come with us on our first live drug raid, I guess. So we put them in vest, and we did 2 raids back to back. We raided the house where we had purchased the dope, and 10 minutes later raided the safe house that supplied that house. And they aired it live on the 11 o'clock news, and the viewer response was just tremendous, because in one of the houses was a 2-week-old baby.
The little kids, they're very impressionable, and hopefully they'll start looking up to the Nasty Boys. And when I say Nasty Boys, I don't mean North Las Vegas police, even though that's where the idea originated. You know, we hope that the kids will look up to police officers in general, you know, all over the nation.
And they kind of idolize us or feel that we're heroes, and we say, that's great, it's better us than some drug dealer.
Makes you cool, all it really does is make you a fool. If you sell dope in your hometown.
Well, it's a lot more exciting on, you know, on film, of course. You know, in real life, you know, the danger factor is always there, but, you know, in the movie, there's a lot of dramatic things that happen, and we understand that they had to do that for the entertainment value. But I mean, as far as like shooting weapons and that sort of thing, it's happened once in 5 years that the Narcotics Bureau has been in existence.
It might be grub, but in Miami it would have to be dub.
It's kind of a stretch from the real guys, you know, because most of the guys look on the real guys look more street people type and more grubby type people. These guys are, you know, real pretty boy types, and that's okay too. Will I become a big star? I don't think that'll happen. I'm going to be a cop. You know, I'm going to be a cop till the end of my career.
Bradley and Jackson are technical advisors on the show. That means they tell the actors how to hold their guns, and they help with terminology. The real cops don't have any control over the stories or the scripts.
Nicaraguan presidential campaigner Daniel Ortega is putting to good use some vintage Americana in his presidential campaign. We'll have that story coming up. Last Wednesday, News 3 told you to expect a big hike in your power bill starting later this year, probably this spring. Well, tonight we have some good news. Compromise has been worked out between the Public Service Commission and Nevada Power. That means your rates won't increase until probably next February. Now, the reason for the 10% increase proposed is twofold, says the utility company. Both Fuel and purchased power expenses for last year were considerably higher than expected.
There's concern tonight over the placement of the stealth fighter in Las Vegas. Nevada Representative Jim Bilbray expects a House panel to study the cost of the proposed move of the stealth program from Tonopah to New Mexico. Now, an alternate plan would place parts of the program at Nellis Air Force Base. But Bilbray says because 3/4 of the stealth fighters are at night, those flights, that could disturb area residents.
Nicaragua's President Daniel Ortega is running for re-election, but his campaign style is strictly made in America. Ortega faces off Sunday with opposition candidate Violeta Chamorro. And as Jane Whitney reports, voters won't have any trouble telling the two candidates apart.
This looks like a rock video, but it's not. It's an ad for presidential candidate Daniel Ortega, who's running for re-election. Ortega's trying to sell himself with slick ads and rallies which rival a rock star production. To do that, he needed a new image, and he got one. Ortega traded in his old Marxist military look for this. Instant Latin teen idol, courtesy of designer jeans and contact lenses. Voters can't possibly confuse Ortega with his competition. She is opposition candidate Violeta Chamorro, a silver-haired grandmother and newspaper publisher. Chamorro has been handicapped during the campaign not only by a broken knee, but by little money to fight the Ortega media blitz. Both sides are going after what could be the swing vote in Sunday's election, young voters and women. The man behind Ortega's makeover says the candidate's new look is key to winning. Some think it works.
Everybody thinks he's very sexy.
Others, like Chamorro's daughter Christiana, don't.
As a Nicaraguan citizen, I won't vote for a sex symbol.
Despite the lopsided battle to sell the candidates, even some experts are at a loss to predict who will win. Polls are notoriously unreliable here because many are afraid to say how they'll vote. The Sandinistas clearly have strong support. In fact, Ortega has already claimed victory. But he'll have to wait until Sunday's secret ballot is cast to find out if he's right. In Managua, I'm Jane Whitney for NBC News.
And former President Jimmy Carter is in Nicaragua to take part in a 35-member election watch team.
You know, many of us have spring fever, Rich. I hope you have good news and say that this is going to last.
I didn't wash the car today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's spring fever for you.
That could be an omen.
Oh, no.
It could be rain in the forecast. I didn't know, but no, it looks good.
Okay, good.
Good-looking weekend is coming up. Lots of sunshine. And let's take a look at something that could make your weekend a little more interesting. There's a fundraiser going on over Dr. Hammergren's house this weekend. That is a mini replica of the Thomas and Mack. There's going to be a fundraiser tomorrow for the University Library Society. And that's over Dr. Hammergren's house. There's going to be Mrs. America is going to be there. There's going to be a mini slam dunk competition. A good time for a great cause. Let's talk about the weather. Our high temperature today got up to 70 degrees. The low 41, and the air quality was moderate. A tiny Mack. Clear 49 degrees. The pressure 30-29 and steady. The relative humidity at 58%. Winds out of the south at 7. Around the region, Boulder City's at 60. Downtown 58. Henderson at 60. Mount Charleston coming in at 30 degrees, North Las Vegas at 55, St. George at 46, and Pahrump 46 degrees tonight. Best is in the west, so as we put the satellite in motion, you'll see not a lot happening here throughout the west. High pressure's in command. Pretty nice day. On the surface, nothing happening out here. Just nice, mild temperatures. Temperatures really in the 60s and 70s, warming up to the 80s in Southern California by tomorrow. The snowiest conditions over the upper peninsula of Michigan. There are winter storm advisories over northern Wisconsin, high wind watches over Iowa. That's where the storm system is right now. Scattered showers throughout the southeast, and there were some record highs earlier today ahead of this frontal system. Boston and New York getting up there to break their old records. For tomorrow, a little bit cooler in the northeast. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s. Southern Florida getting up to the 80s again. Dallas about 75 degrees. Phoenix near 80. Same with Los Angeles. In Nevada, temperatures really nice. The northern part of Nevada, temperatures in the 50s. Central 60s, and southern looks like the 70s. Let's take a look at the forecast for tonight. Clear skies down to 42 degrees. Tomorrow, a mix of clouds and sun, 72. You're headed out to the lake, 78. The nicest weekend of the lake so far this year, it looks like. Partly cloudy and 58 at Mount Charleston. Looking ahead, Sunday, mostly sunny and 75. Can't beat it. Monday, mostly sunny, 73. Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll take them. Partly cloudy, but in the upper 60s.
Yes, we will take them.
Looks good to me.
Yes.
All righty.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks a lot. The Rebels look to make Louisville their 10th straight victim tomorrow, and Coach Tarkanian may at last rid himself of at least one NCAA headache. Stay with us.
Wow.
They're tough opponents.
But Tark is happy tonight.
Certainly is. Tark is smiling. Ever had a headache for like 13 years? Jerry Tarkanian has, and it's called the NCAA. He may finally get rid of that constant migraine soon. He confirms to us tonight that it's in the works to pay $300,000 in legal fees to the NCAA, and the slate will be clean, at least as far as the 77 case is concerned. This does not include any other allegations like the Lloyd Daniels case. Tarkanian with the payment would still be protected from being suspended by the NCAA, although the university would not. Well, as far as pure talent, Rebel fans will see one of the best displays in Thomas and Mack history tomorrow. The Louisville Cardinals and UNLV, two programs rich in tradition and talent, will square off at 11 in the morning. The Cards are without their leading scorer, Jerome Walton, who won't play, missed some classes and didn't make the trip. It won't help Louisville, but their coach isn't sure how they'll respond.
I don't know how well we'll play. There's no way to know that, but I've always felt that tough competition helps you get better, and so we're looking forward to the challenge, and we know that they're tough to beat here. Louisville is a great half-court offensive team, and Jerry has a great half-court defensive team, so I think it's going to be two of the premier teams in the country playing in a game that now starts to mean a lot because we get down towards March.
March as in NCAA tournament. The game again starts at 11 with senior ceremonies beginning at 10:45 for Stacy Sionovich, David Butler, and Moses Scurry. Out at Roger Barnson Field tonight, the Hustlin' Rebels manhandled Michigan for their third straight win in this tournament. Home run by Lee Reber made it 10-zip. Hustlin' Rebels, who didn't need to hustle much after getting a lead like that. It was like batting practice for the crowd tonight. UNLV pounded out hit after hit, including this double by Casey Clements. UNLV wins 12-2. The tournament continues tomorrow out at Roger Barnson Field. NBA, the Atlanta Hawks haven't had much fight in them this season, and things look bleak when red-hot Detroit visited tonight. Evander Holyfield warming up for Buster Douglas with the big right hand. Then the game started, and it was much of the same. The Pistons' Bill Laimbeer got into his customary once-a-night fight with Moses Malone. No punches thrown. The Hawks slipped in plenty of surprise punches on the evening. Kevin Willis, the feed from newly acquired Kenny Smith. Atlanta knocks out Detroit tonight. In Chicago, how do you cause a riot in Chicago Stadium? Pick a fight with the Bulls' Michael Jordan. That's just what Portland's Byron Irvin did. It cleared both benches, upset Jordan so much. He went on to argue with the ref, scored 35 points, ended up also grabbing 10 rebounds and deal 10 assists, a triple-double, and the Bulls roar past Portland. To the scores from the NBA, Lakers by a half dozen over Philly. Atlanta also, there you see, picking up a win over the Pistons tonight. Detroit had the longest winning streak in the NBA. Houston, Milwaukee also pick up wins. Victories for the Heat and the Cavaliers. Also tonight in the NBA, Dallas and Chicago pick up wins. Rounding out the scores, San Antonio, Denver also winners in the NBA tonight, along with the Sonics and the Celtics. Meanwhile, in Atlanta tonight, an amazing feat. Somebody told John Kockelman to go jump off a cliff. Instead, he jumped off a beam at the CNN Center in Atlanta, using bungee cord to break his fall 300 feet. He was not paid for this. He was not arrested for this. He was just nauseous after this. In Detroit, the main event, here we go, seen here on NBC tonight. There's the Buster man, Buster Douglas, in the Hulk Hogan against Randy Savage. This is a sensational Queen Sherry or something. Or something like that. Also, Buster tonight, you watch this. Watch Hulk Hogan behind him here. Very quickly pushes him right into Buster. Uh-oh. Oh, the big right hand. Ah, the big right hand. Buster, very impressive performance tonight. Main event on NBC. Look at there.
Would Mike Tyson have done that?
You know, Mike wouldn't have. Buster's really made a name for himself tonight.
Or he's trying to.
He likes the popularity and the attention.
Yeah, tomorrow, senior ceremonies again for Stacy, Moses, and David start at 10:45.
Okay. The game's at 11.
Great game.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colin. Well, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, you might want to check out the movies. There are plenty of them in town, but NBC movie critic Arch Campbell says if you'd like to see a family's response to some real-life changes, check out Men Don't Leave with Jessica Lange. It's got all the necessary components of a good flick. We'll take a look at it when we come back.
Little 10-year-old, and then you can really go to town.
The full